the question is, Kate, how do you get volunteers back on board after something has gone wrong?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, this is many of our organisations, most of us in our sector are dependent on our wonderful volunteers who work tirelessly and hard, and it's really important that we treat them with respect, and that we recognise and acknowledge the enormous contribution that they make to so many people. I think if you're struggling to get volunteers back on board after something has happened or that something has gone wrong, it's really important to own the issue, or to acknowledge the issue, the thing, to identify what has gone wrong, and then own and acknowledge it, and be really open and honest around that. And then a next stage is to involve the volunteers actually in the solution. So rather than saying, well, yes, this went wrong, but we fixed it, it's much better if you say, well, yes, this has gone wrong, how do we fix it? And get their input, because I think it's solutions that engage everyone work better and stick longer. And I guess an example of this would be from my own, experience, where we had some volunteers who were working in a very, they were responding to bushfires, so and it was it was not business as usual, it was an unusual situation, and the volunteers, they rose to the challenge. They were out there in the community, supporting the community, in a time of real crisis, but it created some real challenges for them, and they were really unhappy at the end of that. They felt that it had just been too much. And we had to say, the first stage was for us to go, yeah, you're right, it was. It was very unusual circumstances, and we asked you to do something that we wouldn't normally, and you did it, thank you, but perhaps on reflection we should have done it another way. And then we engaged with those volunteers and had a very comprehensive process around what had happened, what their thoughts and feelings were. We gave them an opportunity to really share that important information and really, have a go at us, basically, which they needed to do. But we then moved to a positive space, which is, if this happens again, what do we do? How do we do this better, or should we not do it at all? And so it was a very comprehensive and cohesive process where we produced a report that was shared widely. It was a transparent process that engaged the volunteers and the organisation within it. And I'm proud that we did it that way, because I think that at the end of the day, the outcome was a good outcome. And I think, I guess as a final point, is it's important to acknowledge that whilst our volunteers aren't paid, our relationship is still based on a contract. Which, by the way, should be a written contract. You should have a written contract with your volunteers in the same way that you have a contract with your staff members. And that there are expectations on both parties, both the volunteer and the person who's engaging the volunteer, and those should be honoured. And I think it's really important that particularly in smaller organisations where there's a sense that we can't expect them to do that because they're a volunteer, or they can not show up and that's okay because they're not paid. That actually isn't the case. The volunteer is wonderful and they're giving of their time, but they are also getting something in return, which obviously should be part of that arrangement. So it's really important that we acknowledge that this is a relationship that has obligations on both sides, and we need to sort those through.